Hey everybody, I'm the school counselor here at Aspire Charter Academy.
Welcome to Aspire, everyone. You're gonna give me your name.
Oh, I'm Shandis Campbell. Sorry.
I'm Josh
What's
Reese.
your last name again? Campbell, like the soup. Campbell.
I'm Josh Reese. I'm Achievement and Behavior Support Specialist here at Aspire. We're also part of the crisis team. We have one of our members, Ms. Norwood, who is also over our special education as far as Achievement Behavior Specialist, as well as she's part of our crisis and safety team as well. And we just brought you all, as well as our guest panel, to make sure that we give you some insight on the day-to-day with our young people. And the title of this is Help, My Child is Under Pressure. Because our children, just like many of us, we are under pressure in various ways. We go through depression, we go through various obstacles. Our children go through that as well. And we want to talk about the children today and also get some feedback from you, or ask, give you a platform to be able to ask questions at this time. And so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and move forward with our first guest. We're going to allow the panel, each are going to introduce themselves. They have about a few minutes that they can go ahead and talk to you all, let you know what they do, who they are, their background, and maybe give you some insight to their profession. And so we're going to start off with Mr. Cedric Washington. He's one of our mentors here. Also, he is an educator. And so at this time, I'm going to turn the floor over to him to give his introduction of himself and his background and what does he do as far as in his profession.
All right, am I standing up? Okay. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Cedric Washington. I am the educator extraordinaire, born and raised Gary, Indiana. I have been in education for over 20 years, from senior literature teacher, African American studies teacher, English composition teacher, to dean of students, to assistant principal. I've done it all in education in Gary, Indiana, and Chicago, Illinois. I am the executive director of a nonprofit organization entitled NERD Youth Services. NERD is an acronym that stands for Nurturing Education, Reward, and Determination. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, which means that I'm able to get funds and different things from the federally, from the government, right, as well as the state. My sole purpose of stepping away from traditional education was for what we are doing today. Just being a teacher, being an administrator, I saw the need for the social, emotional aspect of our students. You know, being a teacher, being an administrator, you have to focus in on the system of teaching the kids, the academics. And the reality is, situations like just mentoring and building with the students is something that kind of takes the back burner because we're so focused on making sure that our students are achieving the academic goals in which they are supposed to be here. But the reality is, if you're not in the right state of mind, then obviously the academics are going to kind of be falling in the gap. So I stepped away from traditional education to make sure that I can empower our students the right way, socially and emotionally. So currently what I'm doing is I'm contracting with a few schools where I go in and I take out certain students and I do a mentoring group with them. A mentoring group in which we go over different type of ways to cope with.
Bluetooth disconnected. Bluetooth pairing.
Okay. So we can cope. I take them out so we can learn how to cope with different things in regards to personality traits and how to manage themselves in a positive way. Lastly, I am a published author of a book entitled The Miseducation of the Negro in the 21st Century, which speaks to a lot of the things in which our students, parents, and teachers need to realize as we are in this educational system and trying to figure out how we need help. The help is unification. And once we come together and unify and put the right people in places in which that we can produce the product, which is great students, great civilians in the world, then I think we'll be a better place. So I'm glad to be here and share my expertise and listen to the other panelists in regards to their expertise as well. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, you guys are gonna hear from my sister, Shaquanda Goffin.
Hi, I am Shavonda Goffin. Originally from Chicago. I have been in Gary for over 15 years, and I have been doing therapy for 15 years as well. I normally work with families, children. I spent a lot of time at Regional Mental Health. I did a lot of in-house, in-home, and in-school therapy sessions for a lot of young families as well as young children. What I noticed the most about our children and what they need, one of the things is that as parents and as our own community, we don't recognize when a child says that they want to take their life, or they don't feel supported, or they don't feel loved. Those are signs of needing help. But a lot of times we kind of just blow it off because of our own as parents, and how we were and how we grew up was not the same as what is happening right now. And so we have to open up our mindsets and change our thought process and how we see our children and how we see each other and how we work together as a parent and as a student to help them, progress to the next level. I also have a community service that I do for I-1 as well. Those are to help women, young women, older women, all women, and I now have branched out to men as well to help them to understand their mindsets and how to change their mind from what they used to think and how they can think now. The way the world is changing and how everything is different. I want to be able to see people progress. I want to see our people progress into another place where we're not doing the same things that we used to do, but we're doing something different and we're seeing a better outcome for us and our children.
Thank you very much. We also have another panelist. I'm glad to be able to introduce her, even though she took a couple of shots at me today. Leah Stewart is, as she gets ready to introduce herself, motivational speaker, also a youth advocate. And the key thing is that we do less talking and we allow them to speak. Many of you all see us all the time. And so we want you all to hear another voice saying some of the same things, but maybe adding another aspect to it. So at this time, Aaliyah Stewart.
Well, first, giving honor to God, my name is Aaliyah Stewart. I'm the founder of the ASW Foundation, which is a nonprofit organization. I started at 14 years old. I'm 23 years old now, and I have the I Am Them Hope Youth Center located in Gary, Indiana. I started this nonprofit in honor of my two brothers that were killed. I'm a youth advocate. It's very important for me to teach youth to leave a legacy and not a reputation, touching on mental health, helping kids tap into Jeremiah 29:11 of their life, helping them know that God has a plan and a purpose, and keeping them positive, letting them know for every test is a testimony.
Amen.
And now you guys will be hearing from Miss Ashley Robinson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ashley Robinson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and therapist, and I also serve as the clinical program director at the Alternative House located in Miller, a non-for-profit organization, Crisis Center. We provide emergency shelter for youth and adolescents who have been displaced from their home. We provide shelter for children 10 to 17 years old, and we also have a long-term residential program in which we teach independent living skills for older youth children who have been displaced or through juvenile probation. More of a court order program. A lot of our kiddos are children who deal with difficult behaviors, defiant behaviors, and serious mental health issues. A lot of them may be wards of the state, so they were removed from their parents' care. They don't have a lot of family, and we provide that safe shelter for them.
Thank you very much. And our last panelist is a great married couple of over 60 years. And my former pastor, and they're more than just a faith-based couple. They have a great ministry when it comes to grief. And I wanted to throw another aspect because there's something that we're going to learn today dealing with our young people and even yourselves when it comes to grief and the pressure that even your young person experiences with grief. I want to present to some, introduce to others, Reverend Dr. J.C. Wade Jr. and Mrs. Ella Wade of J.E. Wade Ministries.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And we would like to thank, we call him Pastor Reese. And we would like to thank him for inviting us, and we're just happy to be on the panel. I am Mrs. Ella Wade. I'm the executive director of the J.E. Wade Ministries. Our grief ministry, that is our grief ministry, is 9 years old. And every year we have a conference. The first week in April, Friday and Saturday, the first week of April. For 8 years, we've had this conference. We have this conference because 9 years ago, our son passed. And it was so devastating, and the process was so deep that we had to go through it. We went through it with God and with help. And we're letting people know that if you need help, get it. We got help spiritually, but we also got help from our doctor and psychologist. We got all help that we needed, so we could be in the place that we need to be to share what grief is and how you can live with someone that you love have passed. Grief comes in a lot of forms, not just the death of a child or the death of a loved one. It comes in many forms. It could be divorce, it could be your children, it could be your job, any number of things. It could be your pet. Whatever it is that grieves you, this is what we deal with. We've been married for 61 years, and that's a long time, but it's good. And I have been working with children for at least 45 years at that time. And at one time, we only had 10 children at the church, but it grew to 180 children that we visit and talk with every week, every Tuesday. So the ministry grew, the children grew, and now we get calls from those children who are entrepreneurs. They're doing good in school and in life, because now it's a little bit different than it was when we were teaching the children growing up. So we're letting you know that we are available for you. If you're dealing with anything right now, we have a young lady that we're dealing with because she's going through some problems. You have problems in life. Grief is real, and we have to admit it, that it is real, and we all, at some time or another, will go through a phase of grief in our lives. So we're here to just let you understand that through it all, you can make it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to be asking some questions to the panelists. And so one of the questions I have is and I'm going to address it to, I apologize. Oh, you know, you right there. Pastor Wade, Dr. Wade, please.
Pastor Joshua, to our panel, and to all you here today. It's a joy to be here. And we're thankful to God to be here today. My introduction would be to be more of a capsule, because my wife is really giving you the background of how we arrived to where we are with this ministry. I'm a pastor, so I have to stand. I'm used to standing when I preach and stuff. So sitting down is awkward to me, except when we do our broadcast. We have a broadcast every Thursday, 7:00 p.m. It's called J. Wade Ministries, Grief and Mental Health. We deal with grief and mental health. And one of the things that I wanted to highlight, I pastored one church for 45 years. And we found in the 45 years of pastoring, and then with this ministry, that parents have to be careful, because your children, they have 3 phases of growth. 3 phases of growth. I want you to make sure you get that. There are 3 phases of growth with our children. First of all, they're babies. They're on your lap. They're on your knee. But then there is the teenage, where they become on your heart. They leave your lap and they become on your heart. And in the teenage era, and I don't want you to be defensive, I want you to hear me well. The average parent have a problem with this age because when they get to be 13, they act one way. When they get to be 16, they act another way. And when they get 18, they're grown. In their minds. In their minds. And that's why I'm being very careful to tell you, you have to deal with these ages. You have to deal with them. They're here and they're not going anywhere. They are 13. I'm trying to get this. I watched it. Them. We had over 180 kids, and I'm talking about generation. And at 16, they go through another phase. At 18, they feel they're grown. How do we deal with these young people in the age in which we're living? And the other part of that is suicide is one of the most prevalent things we have with our young people today. Are them kids gonna be all right? No, they're not gonna be all right. These kids, they go through a lot of stuff between home, school, and back home. There's a lot of things that take place. A lot of things that you would never know because they won't tell you. Mm-hmm. My wife and I, at the end of this, we're going to give you a demonstration how to talk to your children. I know how to talk about you. Hate to say that. When I give you this demonstration, you will discover that you're going to need some help in talking to your children because they won't talk to you. You see these people up here? See these folks up here? All these folks up here? They will tell you, the kids won't talk to you. They'll tell us stuff they would not dare tell you. You know why? Because there's a disconnect. They feel you won't understand them. You'll be critical of them. You say, oh boy, you all right, girl, you fine. That's not what we do. We listen. And so I'm going to talk about that a little later on. It's important that we have a listening ear to our children without interruption and without judging them. That's what I want to say. I'm done. We judge them. Boy, you hard-headed and oh, we just tell girl, you fat, we don't judge you. We sit down and we have compassion for them. And when you understand that, they will tell us the world. I'll give you this and I'm done. A young man came out of the house, his mother, his grandmother, his uncle, and somebody else, was three of them, came out of the house. The son, that's right, the son, the grandson, and the grandmother came out of the house. And we sat around the table, these two people right here, and we shared with them some things about what he was going through. And his grandma said, I never knew that. He never told me that. I said, because you're not passed away, and I'm away. That's why he didn't tell you. You his grandmother. We're his therapist. That's the deal. You're his grandma. You're his mother. He won't tell you stuff. And sat right at that table and said, and then the son started saying some things. She said, I didn't know that. You can't know that. You're not trained to know that. Okay, I'm going on to something else. All right.
You actually dived into a question, but we're going to come back to it. And thank you, Pastor Wade and Mrs. Wade. Thank you to everyone. I want to start off with this. What are some of the pressures you see with our youth in your profession? So I want to start off with Ms. Robinson. Tell us what some of the pressures you see and talk a little bit about directly with the Crisis Center, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. So a lot of the pressures that I see in my population of youth that I work with, and even before working at the Crisis Center as a therapist, there's a disconnect between parents and children's behavior. A lot of the pressure is being and trying to be understood, trying to be in control of their situations in which they never had control of. So they're displaced. They don't have a home. We provide a home, we make it a home, but the pressures of trying to behave in a way that someone likes me and accept me enough to give me a home and accept me. So those pressures are hard to navigate against because it's them being authentic to themselves and who they are and accepting themselves, then also being accepted by the world. And the disconnect is with how my environment raised me to how the world, they're going from different place to different place. So trying to integrate into those spaces and being who they need to be to appease and keep a home, and then also being true to themselves. So that's what
I'm gonna ask the same for Ms. Golfin.
Well, some of the pressures that I've noticed is social media. Social media, the television, all those types of things is a major thing for them because they're trying to find themselves. And in finding themselves, they're trying to be like what they see. And so whether it be financially, the way they look, how they talk, all those things are very much pressure. And then as the parent is trying to guide them and not making sure that they get a hold to all this stuff. But it's kind of like you have no choice because it's right in front of them, everything they do, whether it be the iPad, whether it be the phones, what in school. All the things that they are connected to shows pressure for them to try to be something other than what they were intended to be in the first place. So it's hard for them to be themselves. It's hard for them to see themselves as who they really are. So I want to add things to me. I want my body done. I want to get my butt done. I want some breasts. All those things are important instead of education, instead of other things that we would normally want our kids to have.
I want to chime in, and I'm going to actually have Pastor Wade and Mrs. Wade to chime in on that same thing. But when we talk about social media, what's your take on this pressure of social media, Mr. Washington?
Well, peer pressure has been around since the beginning of time. I think what magnifies it is the social media. Social media is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. At school, when I was a kid at school, I would learn various things from my peers. We would see something on TV, we would listen to a song, and from there you would take and kind of diagnose your own synopsis with it, and you kind of run with it. We never talked with our parents about the things that we did because it was our parents. I think as the years progress, one of the things that we have now is mentoring. When I was coming up in the 80s and the 90s as a youth, that wasn't around as much. We had the Boys and Girls Club, but you didn't have as many different type of programs and resources as we have in this day. And it's because of that very thing, peer pressure. So social media magnifies all of the different type of nuances that's in the world that's negative. And when you have that at your phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, then you just interpreting whatever it is that you're seeing for yourself. Now imagine a room full of young people interpreting something that needs to be talked about with the parents. So mentoring is very important because we provide that safe space that a student or youth or whoever your kid may be that necessarily is not comfortable speaking to such a private situation. And even though the situation should be discussed the best with the parent, you have people like us that's on the panel that are specialized in being able to create and cultivate relationships where we can have that listening ear and listen, most importantly, versus saying, you don't know what you're talking about, that's stupid, shut up, boy, that type of thing, right? Even though we might think it, but you got to give that space to let them be who they are, let them get their thoughts out, let them iron out what it is, and then we give the advice accordingly. So social media and mentoring is hand in hand because I have to see what's going on with the media in order to be able to curtail whatever questions and different types of things that they have.
Ms. Stewart, same question.
I would say with a lot of the kids that me and Ashley went, I love your shirt, Keeping Different God. And I think that with a lot of the kids, they're not meant to be understood. They're meant to really stand out in their own way. And I think that we try to base it off of statistics or what's quote unquote right or what's quote unquote the way that our parents were raised. And Pastor Hannah said it best. These are not Dr. Martin Luther King grandkids, okay? These are not regular based kids. These are more of our generation. I mean, me being 23, I can say, I think after 2017, it was the last of like the 1970 parents that had kids right there. After that, these have to be like 80 babies and up. The kids are just, they're more liberal. They're more open and honest, and we're not afraid to say what's on our mind. And it's not about being disrespectful. I try to teach parents and I try to teach children. Parents, you have to respect your children. And a lot of adults feel like, well, I'm the adult, so you got to respect me. It's not how life works. In order to get respect, you have to give it. That doesn't mean you have to accept what your child is doing and you let them be disrespectful, but you have to create a space for the kids to be like, you know what, you are cool. Let me talk to you. Let me tell you. Honestly, Mom, ... For instance, a lot of kids are into smoking weed right now, or vaping. The epidemic of vaping is just crazy. But if you have a safe space with your child, I have some parents that their children come to them and say, Mom, I like to smoke, right? And you have them where they're like, well, let me get that phone, let me do this, let me do that. But the kid still smokes. But then you have another parent where the kid comes and says, Mom, I like to smoke. And the parent said, okay, we're going to make the deal. What's the deal? I would rather for you to smoke in-house here in this area than go outside or go to the gas station and buy fake weed from somewhere. And now you're in a situation. Now you out of your mind, right? So in this generation, you kind of, it's let's make a deal. You have to make a deal with your child. And it's not about you bowing down as a parent, but it's about you thinking, what can I do to make sure that my child has longevity in their life?
Pastor Wade and Mrs. Wade, we're gonna give you a double, because we're gonna go into the second question. What are some of the pressures you see with your youth, with our youth in your profession, and then what are your suggestions? What suggestions do you have on bettering parents as well as the staff and student relationship?
I have watched my children, and I'm having 3 children, 4 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. There's a whole difference in how they act and our children do. Our children today, they feel like the parents didn't really care. Because if you care for your child, you will follow everything that they do. Not that you have to follow behind them. You go to the school. You go talk to the teacher. Not go and upset the teacher. You go find out, why is my child making bad grades? Why? See, most parents, and I'm telling you this from experience, you know when your child has changed in your house. If they start sleeping a lot, if they start being disobedient a lot, if they start wanting to stay out at night, if they start just doing things that they don't normally do, you know something is going on. Tap into that. And the way you tap into it, not to yell at them or scream at them or scold them and well, I know you're doing something, but you ain't acting right. No, you got to find a way to quietly sit down and talk with them and say, what is it that's going on? Can I talk to you? Yeah, you know, you have to give yourself up. Can I talk with you? No, I don't want to talk. So what they do, they put on a mask. They put on a mask, they hide themselves behind a mask because they really don't want you to know, and they really don't want to talk to you. But you have to find a way to get to your children. That's why I say, follow them in everything they do. Take them to church and stop sending them to church, because they might not always go. You take them yourself. Our parents carried us. That's not old-fashioned. That's real. You want your child, that baby, he would say that.
Baby been co-signed all the time. Co-signed.
take your children to church and take yourselves to church. Amen, parents. I know you might not like it, it might not sound too good, but it works. They see you in everything that they do. You tell them that they can do it, you applaud them, you compliment them, and you tell them like you might have failed or you might have a bad grade in this subject, I'll get you some help. You might not can do it, but you ought to know somebody who can help your child. And then get them tutoring. And some kind of way, you spend a lot of time. You be on their trail like they on yours. They watching you. They want to know when you're out of sight so they can do what they want to do. Because social media, those phones, those iPhones are in their hearts. It's in their chest. When it rings, they know where it is. They know who's calling. They just don't want you to know. They have many ways. Let me tell you something about our great-grandson, then I'm going to let Pastor Wayne speak. His mother put him on timeout, took his phone, took his iPad, took all that social media stuff anyway. So all of a sudden, now he couldn't drive, couldn't do anything. So she took his iPad and went on his iPad to tell somebody else to tell him that he could call her at a certain time. On the iPad, she noticed that he's having a conversation with somebody else on the iPad. And she said, how is he working that? Well, he used his friend iPad. But all the messages are on his iPad that she has his iPad. She was blown. She said, I give up. I'm going to give him back his iPhone. I'm going to give him back his iPad because I am stressed. I said, you're stressing yourself. Give it back his social media stuff. Let him do it. You follow him on other things that you know that you need to do so you can be in appliance of what he's doing. And you'll know you don't have to yell, you don't have to scream. You can take time out for this and take it. You can take it if you want to. They have another way of getting the message over to who they want to be with. So you're not really fooling them. So the thing that you can do is join what they're doing and know everything that they do as much as you can. So you can keep up with your children. It will bless you. You'll be less stressful. You'll live longer. And you'll kind of know some of the things that they're going, because they are not going to tell you everything. But at least you'll have a capsule or something. That's what I have thought.
Thank you. There is a Bible verse. That's why wherever I go, I try to take my Bible. Because I like to be biblical when I talk to people. I don't like just talk out of the air in general. I like to be biblical when I talk about certain things that I talk to people. The Bible says, train up a child in the way it should go. When he gets old, he will not depart. It didn't say that they would not vary from some of the things that you taught them, but they won't depart from it. When you train up a child, you have to train that child with love. Your child must know that you love them.
That's in Joshua Deuteronomy.
You got to let your child know. And listen, your child knows that you love them when you don't let them do any and everything.
Right.
Your child don't want to do any and everything. They don't want to do that. They're waiting on you to help them. They don't know the way. They act like they do. As I said, when they get taken, they don't know. They know they don't know. But the media, the social media, all their peer pressure, all the things that they have to feel, as I said, from home to school and the community, they're telling your child, you ought to do this. But your child knows when you really love them. I tell people, the Bible says, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest of these is love. Our children are waiting for us to show them love. Our parents had rules. They had regulations. Our parents, can y'all have to say that? Our parents had rules. Our parents had rules. And they had regulations. And when you did not follow those, there were consequences. See, we got to let our children know there are consequences for doing wrong. We don't want to do that. My wife told me something just broke my heart. Broke my heart when I got home. She got home. She said, honey, I just left the store. She said, I heard a parent cursing a little child out in the store. That broke my heart. And I could cry over that. What parent would feel comfortable cursing your 5 or 6-year-old child off in a store? How do you feel comfortable about that? What is that? Would y'all tell me what that is? Maybe I'm lost. That's not love. That's abuse. If you don't want a child, give the child or where people say I want a child. You don't want that. That's abuse. I can't fathom language that we. She said, honey, I got home. We go to the home in tears. How can you curse a child? And so you curse them out, then you don't want them to curse. You curse them out, but when they use language at you and call you what you, then you want to kill them. But you have trained them. We need to take a time out, and we need to take our time and let our children know that we love them. And my father told me this, and I'll never forget it. My father told me this. My father was also a pastor 44 years. He told me this. He said, son, there are enough words in the English language to say anything you want to say. I'll never forget that. So parents, go back and rehearse English grammar. Take your time out. Do your sentences correct so your child will learn how to do them correct. Verbs, adjectives, all this. Learn how to do that. And when your child comes home, hey, dude, no. I went to the airport. My wife and I, thank God for travel. Then I'm gonna take it. I went there. I won't stand when I say that. I went to the airport, and when I got through, my wife in a wheelchair. That particular day, I was kind of in a wheelchair because my legs were hurting at my age. I'm not tell you all about that. I was in a wheelchair too. And so when he got through, I tipped the young man. He said, "Thank you, boss." I told him, "I'm not your boss. I have a name." So you can't let people categorize you. I'm not your boss. My name is not boss. My name is Reverend Dr. J.C. Wager. That's my name, not boss. And my wife said, I said, I want people to understand. You can't refer me to a language on the street. I'm better than that. I'm better than that. You see why I wore this suit? I didn't come here no jeans cut off all done. I represent who I am. I'm a child of the king. I'm a king's kid. I represent God. Where I go, I wear a suit out. I represent God. That's what I represent. And people look at me, they know, they don't have to figure out who I am. They know something distinguished about him because they don't suit a tie. I want people to know that. So today I come to tell you, represent who you are. You are a parent. Don't be like somebody on the street now. You are a parent, and this is your child. You owe your child the best that you can get. Did I say enough?
Can I? So yeah, Pastor brought up some excellent points, but here's what we don't realize. A lot of the parents are young parents. A lot of the parents don't know how to articulate themselves. A lot of the parents also need mentoring themselves. So the title of this event is called Help Me. Help My Child is Under Pressure. Right. Everyone here has a phone, so I'm going to give you some help. Pull out your phone real quick. And I want you to go to www.nerd, youth, youth, services, services.org. Somebody got it. Let me know you got it. Yeah. So we don't want to browbeat and make people feel bad. The objective is to give service. So if you need a service, this is a service. If you know someone that needs this service, then redirect them to this service, because a lot of the parents just can't articulate, in which this is why the child acts the way the child acts. Culture equals intelligence equals behavior, which means the environment that you're in ultimately kind of shapes how you think. And how you think is going to be how you act. So if a kid can come to school for 6 hours a day, and if it goes back to the same culture, which is going to be toxic, chances are that child is not going to change his behavior. So if that parent can't articulate that, and you know someone, it's a neighbor, it's a family member, what have you, here's a resource, because this is why we're here. And then I and people on my team can be a listening ear, can be a resource to help our youth. And that's just one way. And I'm sure we have other different resources, because here, let me tell you, I'm an expert at this. I've been doing this a long time. I have a son, and my son won't talk to me about certain things. And I'm looking at him like, man, don't you know people come to me about this type of stuff? So, you know, the reality of it is it's a little bit like, man, I want to tell my dad this. And I'm looking like, boy, you don't know. You got the right person to tell you everything in and out. However, again, that's why we have resources. So we can make sure that everyone is being heard. So we can make sure that everyone is being treated in whatever magnitude it is. It don't necessarily have to be the worst case scenario, but that's the purpose of mentoring. That's the purpose of having programs, so we can shape, cultivate, and mold our youth. I wanted to add that.
I appreciate it, because that kind of chimes into what J. Wade Ministries with Reverend Dr. J.C. Wade and Mrs. Wade were saying when they were saying that the young people are not talking to the parents, but they'll talk to someone of experience. And in our working with Ms. Campbell here, we will have engaged with parents that said they get upset at the child and feel embarrassed because the child spoke to us and didn't speak to them.
Yeah.
But what you said about the services, also what we understand, what Mrs. Wade was saying, that some of the children feel like we don't care. And and many times it's not that we don't care. We may not be able to articulate. But here's the resources. Here are people to help us do this. And here comes a subject matter that's very vital, not only prevalent here at Aspire, but also at a lot of our schools nationwide. We're seeing self-harm and suicide among youth is rising.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
What do we do about cultural toughness?
Elaborate. Yes, elaborate on that.
Our young people, where they are now, a lot of them have to deal with cultural toughness. That is, in our culture, we tell people don't take advantage of you. So we become defensive. And when we don't, and to piggyback on what the young man said about babies having babies, it's not new. But what I'm saying is that the resources are available. And my wife, I go back to me, the church, I love his resource, but ain't nobody like God. Ain't nobody like Jesus. Jesus said, I'm the way, truth, and life. And when we start with God, he said, seek the kingdom first. All these others. Talk from our experience. I can't talk from. So mine is the religious part, the Christian part. You train your child, even to young people. And when we had a young lady in our church that had a baby many years ago, and some of the people in the church, they want to look at her, oh, this fast girl, want to keep her dressed. Oh, they had a whole lot of stuff to say about her. My wife and I, we embraced her. Amen. As a result, the church took on as the first baby. I'm telling you, there's nothing like compassion. There's nothing like love. There's nothing like, and display love. And we start with the Lord, and years ago, and it still works. I'm gonna tell you something. It still works. Sunday school still works. taking your child to Sunday school, it still works. Teaching your child about Christ, it still works. That's a resource. All right, I'm good. And then when we talk about toughness, we need to tell our children that meekness is not weakness. But meekness is power under control. Wow.
Can I piggyback off of that a little bit? Because I will say this, so the cultural toughness, right? A lot of, in our culture, we'll say our kids need help, right? And it says, help me, my child is under pressure. But we found out a lot of parents are under pressure, and that kind of goes down to our children. Our children that are watching us, they piggyback off of what we do. They learn how to cope and how to deal with things through how they see their environment deal with things. So if the kid is struggling, and in my experience as a therapist, the parent will say, my kid is the problem, I'm not the problem, fix my kid. But it's an environmental thing, right? So if you're yelling, screaming, and lashing out when you get upset, then that child is gonna yell, scream, and lash out when they get upset. And so as a unit, the cultural toughness, I don't need help. We all need help. We have to learn how to accept it, because we don't have it all figured out. And like you said, meekness is not weakness. Being vulnerable is not weak. It's really opening up and saying, hey, can we go back to the days where it took a village to raise a child? My neighbor, I support my neighbor, and I provide that support to them. So I think that was a good point as well, because I see that a lot in my
Cultural toughness, though, again, it's been around forever. When you're talking about a boy not being able to cry, because you got to be tough.
right.
When hip hop is the #1 music genre in the world, and all they talk about is being tough. So the nuances of negativity has been around. The magnification of it all has been social media, because it's 24 hours. So it's a constant in your face. It was a point in time when TV went off. Once that Star Spangled Banner came on, and that's it. The TV, so at one point in time, media even shut off. Now it's 24 hours a day. It's at your fingertips. You're listening to it. You can read the lyrics to the words. You know, so when we talk about cultural toughness, that's been that, especially for Black boys. It's that. And now it's Black girls, because Black girls now are doing more fighting than the boys. If you look at the statistics. If you look at the statistics, if you look at the data, the girls are fighting more than the boys now. And the reason is because of what they're watching. If they're not listening to certain songs, then they're watching reality TV. What do you see? Nothing but fighting on the reality TV. Bad Girls Club, all of these things. Started years ago. Grown women fighting basketball wives. They fighting. Right? So the point to be proven is to be the toughest. So mentoring, again, I keep bringing it back to that, because if someone is hot and they're upset, as much as I love Jesus, they don't want to hear about that in that moment. You know what I'm saying? So you got to at least talk them down off the ledge to get them to understand, hey, listen, we don't have to have so much tension between us. We can talk, and that causes being the bigger person. Being the bigger person, again, negates the cultural toughness, because I got to be the toughest one in the room. So mentoring is extremely important, because it teaches you how to think. And one of the programs that I actually do here at Aspire is getting our young people to curtail their negative thinking, getting our young people to curtail the sensation seeking that they're looking to do in the moment. Something that you're doing in this moment can hurt you 10 to 15 years down the line. There's a lot of people in the county that's thinking that right now, right? A decision, one decision. So we have to explain how important it is to mentor our young people, and that's through our social emotional intelligence. Because if you don't get the thinking to change, it's going to be the same thing down the line, just camouflaged in something different. Mind state. If we speak to the mind and we cultivate the thinking, of the parents of the children, then society will change. That's the bottom line with it. We gotta cultivate the thinking. We gotta cultivate the mind. And it's important to do that through mentoring in all times. I just want to add that.
That's why I'm glad that we have each aspect, because we have from a faith-based aspect to, in which one of the things I can say working with JUA Ministries is more than just church. Not only do I need church, but I also need help.
Yeah.
And the help is all connected, because at the end of the day, we all have the same goal, which is I need that child pressure to be released. And I gotta dive into this subject right here because it's prevalent. And and even if we conclude on this subject, self-harm and suicide among our youth is rising. And I'm going to bring it to Mrs. Golphin, and we're going to move it from there. What advice would you give to our parents and staff concerning self-harm and suicide?
Believe it when they tell you. Do not blow it off. If you, like Pastor Wade said and Lady Wade said, they give you signs, whether they're sleeping or they're doing different things in the home or their behavior has changed. Believe it when they say it to you or someone has told you. Please don't get offensive and think that it is your fault. Because of, I'm gonna say it again, because of social media, it makes them feel that this is the right thing to do. If I can't control my emotions, if I am going through something, the only way that I know how to do it is take my life. Opposed to finding those things that's going to help me calm down and bring me to a thought process where I'm able to think properly. But they can't do that. And so if someone tells you, whether it be someone that they know or don't know, believe it and make sure you go seek the help. They may deny it. They may say, get it checked anyway. I'm going to tell you because I have my own child. So I know my own child said she was going to take her life in school. So believe it when they say it. Get the help. It's okay. You don't have to feel bad. You're not a bad parent. It's just what society has made it to be, where we're in this place where we feel like when we can't handle stuff, the only thing we know how to do is take our life. And that is not the answer. We all know it's not the answer. And I believe our children know it's not the answer. But because of what life has brought us, it's like that's the only thing I know how to do. Maybe I'm going to slit my wrist. I'm going to take these pills. I'm going to hang myself from this door. Believe them when they say it. The other thing is show up. If you don't do anything else, show up for your kid. Show up when the school is calling for you. Show up when it's parent-teacher conference. You need to show up for your kid. That's how they recognize that you love them. That's how they recognize that you care. Then the spiritual and the mentor are working together, then we have better kids. We don't have to worry about, as adults, getting bopped upside the head by a kid, because now we're doing the things that we need to do to help them mentally get back to a place that they need to be. So show up and believe them when they tell you, when they say it. Even if they jokingly, they're not joking. They already have been thinking about it, they already plotted. They were probably sitting in their room and you had no knowledge of it, that they were sitting in their room thinking about how they was going to take their life. Or they didn't text their friend and said, listen, I'm going to take my life today. They will do it. I'm going to tell you, before I walked in this door, I got a call. I picked up my FaceTime and it was one of the members with a gun to their head. And I'm driving here. That's how real it is. That's how real it is. I began to pray for that person. They had a gun. I'm on FaceTime. I cannot help them because I'm in one place and they're in another. And they get ready to take their life because they said, I just can't take it anymore. So it's not just the kids. Parents are going through as well. They are struggling because they don't know what else to do. And that's where that person was. I don't know what else to do. I can't take it anymore. I'm just gonna take my life. Please, please believe me.
I want to go down and then come to the end if you, Mr. Washington. Leave.
A couple points to that standpoint. I think that mentoring is great, but I think the option of removing Jesus out of certain things has been the problem.
That's right.
When we started in school, we used to say the pledge, and we used to say one nation under God. And when they took the pledge out of school, the kids didn't have a foundation, right? They don't have a root. They don't have anything to stand on. So I think mentoring is great. That's what we're here to do. But also, we wouldn't be able to mentor if we didn't have a foundation or a word to be able to spare out, right? If we didn't have a firm foundation that God had gave us, yes, mentoring and services is great, but giving the kids Jesus. When a kid called me and say, hey, I'm ready to kill myself, I'm not telling you I'm about to mentor you. In the name of Jesus, I rebuke that spirit that's on you, right? Because it's the reality of it. In a more profound way to help the parents. I commend every parent that's in here because I know parents that block the school number. So thank you for being a parent and coming in here and really learning how you can help your child, right? Not only that, even though we're talking about parents, you don't know how to be a parent. These parents have traumas.
Right.
Yes.
And to every parent, I pray for you to get help to your inside trauma because your mother called you a wench or something at some point in your life. So now you know you don't know how to turn it off with your own child, right? But so many parents say, when I become a parent, I ain't gonna do that, but be the same parent doing it because you don't know no other way. So in a sense of now with children, I have no kids. Right, this is no kids, but I had two brothers that were killed. I'm my mom's only child, and I see the balance that me and my mother had. Right, so my mother now she's a DCS worker. She works with children. She's a home-based caseworker. She's a behavior modification specialist, and the way she operates with other people's children, and me, is different. Right, the way she talks to me is different. But I had to take that and understand, like, wow, when the kids come to me. And they're like, man, I love your mommy. She's better with children than me, right? Because at some point she had to realize my traumas of what I've been through is other kids that's been through things I could never imagine or picture, right? So I'm jumping into the self-harm. You have kids, because that's what's the new. That's what it is, right? We have the epidemic of gun violence, and then we have the epidemic of suicide, right? But we have kids that are killing themselves. Back then it was a challenge where you used the what was that challenge they was doing? Where they were going Russian roulette, right? That was a challenge for people to do, right? But now this is a reality. This is what kids want to do. Then we talk about music. A lot of people don't know that even with hip hop music, what we put out, they got traumas too. A lot of them are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And the number one route to help a child with post-traumatic stress disorder in minority areas, not just for Black children, but Hispanic, Latino, everything is music. That's the number one way for kids to express themselves. So instead of you, when you hear them listening to rap music, yeah, you get tired of it. But what I've learned is I put on the clean version and let them hear it. But it's something with that kid when they feel it, if you not know what in that moment of 5 minutes and I'm listening to that, what frustration they're getting out of it. But it's not your normal, so you don't accept it, right? Everybody's used to their normal. Well, we didn't used to do stuff like that, right? I've been in the church my whole life, literally. Non-denominational, Baptist, all of that, right? And pastor, my mom used to, every Wednesday, she worked in Tinley Park. We lived in there. We went to Pastor Munster's church, Family Christian, that's in Munster. So you come from Tinley Park, you're going to pass Munster, but you're going to come home to Maryview, you're going to pick your kids up, you're going to blow your horn. When you get outside, you're tired though. You left home 6 o'clock in the morning, single parent, you got these 2 kids. But you are dying for your kids to know Jesus.
Right.
You're dying for that because you know that I can't save them, right? Even when I got 18, I still knew that it was nobody but my mother's prayer. This young lady standing over here, kids in and out the church. We go over there, we was in the church. It wasn't an option for you not to go to church. This is the most option-giving church-going parents and children in the world. You got options. Oh, you don't want to go to church? I know because I do. The Lord know me. You said I could cash out my tithes? Oh, Jesus, I'll see you.
We done made him an option. And that's why the kids in your household, you have no control over them because you use God as an option, right? And I typed this into hope, but this is literally the truth. Regardless of the dictionary or professional, what degrees people got, none here, but I know Jesus.
Right.
And knowing Jesus gets me in any room more than any degree can ever get me. Okay? So with knowing Jesus and knowing the word that he gives you, also he tells children, honor thy mother and thy father. This is what people miss, so that your days should be long. But the number one part people miss is that it should be well with you.
Right.
Not so that it'll be well with your parent, but that it'll be well with you. They don't lost their mind. And they lost their mind and they don't have mental stability because prayer has been taken out of them. Jehovah Rapha, Jehovah, these are real things. And in this area, I believe in making people believers. You don't have to believe in God. Don't do what you do. I'm still gonna love you, right? But what I'm gonna do in my area, I'm gonna give you a Jesus. We have kids we come across. What do they tell us? I don't believe in that man. Foster kids. Why you don't believe him? Because if I believe them, why would he let me go for this? What man would allow me to watch my mother be on meth? This is what they say. What man would allow my mother to sell me to a grown man for drugs? What man would allow my father to molest me? Then you look at me. Though they slay me. Yeah. Trust them. Right? I don't dumb down my beliefs for other people. And I think that a lot of times in the schools, now you can't say this, you can't say that, you can't do this, you can't do that. It takes for one real teacher to be in the school to give you Jesus. When you got that teacher in the school, prayer, come in, baby, let me pray for you. I'm going to mentor you by praying that I don't do nothing. Come here. You just got to give them to Jesus and be okay with it. And then when they get home, they have a strong mind. A lot of these kids really don't want to kill themselves. But what can you do to help me not kill myself? What can you give me that when you're not there, that's omnipresent, that's going to cover me when you're not there? Yeah, I can mentor you and tell you have a great day. I give you an affirmation. Oh my gosh, you're awesome. What is that going to do when I get home and the devil playing with my mind? That's just some words you get me. But what is the foundation that you gave me that when I go home, I could pray for my mama? Lord, when mama say stuff to me and I be like, dang, that was really rough. I said, Lord, forgive her, for she don't even know what she just said. Help her to help her tongue, bridle her tongue, give her the right words to say to me. That was a little harsh. My mom was the parent that believed that you had to be tough. Girl, suck that up. Ain't nothing wrong with you. Girl, suck that up till depression really came forth frank. She's like, where is my child? And I told her, hey, Mom, have you ever felt like you just could die? You ever felt like that? Remember, you were praying for me. I was praying. You gave me God. But I feel like right now in my life, I could just die. And she has to look and say, Father God, in the name of Jesus. Right? It wasn't no, yeah, we're going to get you a therapist. Your therapist is going to talk to you. But what are we going to do at home? We're going to pray. We're going to have prayer hour. Families don't sit at the table and eat together no more. How do I know? Because in my household, we didn't do it. We're going to go eat. I'm going to take my chicken in my room. See y'all later. Okay? That whole firm foundation of a family is gone. Snatch your kids back. These streets they don't belong to your kids.
Say that again.
Snatch your children back. If you got back, just yank them back. Come here, young man. We see kids leaving the school every day. My family owns a funeral home. It don't matter the age. They coming. 11, 13. We got a 13-year-old. They left them in the back of a funeral home building. Killed them. Why would you do that? How do you even know how to kill somebody? Just left LCJC. Youngest kid, 11. Young man, what are you doing? Right? Everybody has issues. Everybody has a problem. This is what all kids know is to cut themselves. Why would you cut yourself? Because I have a mental issue. What's your mental issue? Because you've been, because you've been told that. Stop every time you take your kids to the doctor and the doctor say they got, no, they don't. They don't have no ADHD and they're not autistic. They just need a little prayer and a little nourishment and pray about it, right? When they go into the schools and they're in these environments around certain people, they're influenced. They get this influence of being around people. Oh, you say you gonna kill yourself? That's everybody's number one thing. I'm finna kill myself. Till they get in the mental hospital with people that'll really kill themselves. Now they don't want to be crazy anymore. Now you want to go home.
And I don't need, look, I wanna keep this right. I wanna keep this going. I
Ashley
gotta get
Ashley
everybody.
gonna get the help.
I need her to tag in. I need her to tag
Ashley
in.
will finish it.
Because Christ said, I know
Ashley
you all
will
see
tell
some
it.
things.
We work together.
So
Yeah.
talk to us about that same thing, about the self-harm, suicide, and what you would suggest on our end.
So self-harm and suicide is two totally different minds. And I think a lot of people don't understand. Self-harm is a physical coping skill. They want to feel something. So this is a way to a release mechanism. Suicide looks a little different because they don't want to be here no more. They have lost all options to cope. And so now I cannot deal with life. I don't have hope, right? Y'all talk a lot about faith and religion. So we all know faith, then the sound of it must be. I'm not a real religious person, but we know we look forward to something. We believe in something, even though when we can't see it, feel it, or see it in that moment. But it's something we look forward to. When you become hopeless,
Right. There you go.
you have nothing to look forward to.
Right.
I can't see my future because everything around me has been really bad. So I think separating the two, self-harm does not always mean I want to die. Self-harm means I want to feel, I want to release, I need to do something with all of this stuff that's in me. Suicide is I see no future.
Right.
There's no hope around. No one loves me. No, they have a lot of things where I don't have a protective future. I don't have a good future. You spoke a lot into, well, how can I be hopeful when all of this death has happened around me? When my dad, I don't have a dad. I don't have a mom. My mom's on drugs. Everything is just there for me. So I say all of that to say, when you have these youth in your home, because unfortunately it's the thing to do. When life get rough, we just gonna cut ourselves and we gonna just die. And so this is the way that they learn to cope. And I think that comes too, and I hate to keep putting it on the parents, but I think as parents, we don't understand. We view it in our perception. So sit down, getting to understand why our kids are listening to that rap music and related to the rap music. What is it about that connects you with that? So I can understand how to meet you where you are, what's going on with you. Sitting them at the table and making it all about them and what they're experiencing and hearing them, understanding them, providing compassion to create that hope that maybe things can get better. Maybe someone will see me. Maybe someone will hear me. Maybe life can get better because it's all maybe. Life could be perfect right now and go to hell next week. Like you wouldn't know that. And that's that faith, right? You don't know. And then believing that you can get through whatever you can get through. We are a strong group of individuals in this area, in this culture, in this society. We have been really strong. And faith is what got us through, believing that things can get better. But I think that sometimes as parents, we go through struggles, financial struggles. You hope that I can get NIPSCO to get this bill down some more. I hope that I can make it through this month. And so you work, you figure it out. You got to finesse or do whatever you got to do to get through the moment. We've learned those survival and coping skills. Our kids don't have them because I don't know if we're not instilling it in them. Are we holding their hand a little bit too much? But I think the conversation of sitting in the why do you want to die? What do you want to live for? What is something that you look forward to? Do you want to get $1 million? Well, hell, if you're down now, how would you ever get the $1 million? Right? And asking those questions to future thinking to get their minds going. Putting and instilling in them that they can do whatever they need and want to do and helping them with coping skills. Listening to music, driving a car may not like all the rap, but if you relate to this and you struggling, let's go take a ride and let's go listen to the music. Lakeshore Drive in Chicago is a beautiful thing, right? Let's look at the buildings, which building you want to be in when you get older. How can you do it? That's instilling faith, having them believe, giving them hope that the future could be bright, because right now, something about their circumstances feel like it's not going to go forward. So you as a parent can give them that. It don't always have to be a service provider, but mentors are great because they can look at, I only got a mom at home, right? I never seen a man be successful and talk to me in this manner. So having that mentor, but also knowing that as a strong mom, that I'm loving and I'm caring and I'm here and I'm doing. And then you go to the church and we do something together in the church together, and they giving us. We see, success there and love there and faith there, and kind of wrapping this around, because suicide and self-harm is a big thing, a dangerous thing, but it's something that we can manage if we don't panic and if we invest in those individuals.
Pastor Wade and Mrs. Wade, and then Cedric.
I have just enjoyed myself. I piggyback on everybody. That was a song that I taught our children way back. It said, I am a Jesus key. I taught that to them because that's what they are. And parents, when something happened to our kids, who do we call?
Jesus.
Oh, what is his name? What's his name? So why you wouldn't go to church and take your children to church and teach them about the person that you call on? You don't call, oh, Dr. such. Oh, you call on who? Jesus. So don't ever not take your child to church, introduce them to Jesus, because that's who they know to call on, because that's who mama called on, that's who daddy called on, because that's who gonna help us in the very end. We want to see who? Jesus. That's what we living for. So don't leave him out. You can leave out anybody else, but don't leave Jesus out. You need him. He's our everything. Now you can put him on the back burner if you want to. Time something happens, you're gonna go, Jesus. So why would you put him last when you gotta call him first? Put him first in your life, and everything else will follow. What is about the kingdom first? And all seek the kingdom first, and all the righteousness. 33. And all these other things will be added unto you. We have what is called one church, one school. Thank God for this man right here, my husband, for over 61 years. He is the president of one church, one school in East Chicago, Indiana. Every Monday and possibly every Tuesday, we go to Central High School. Now, we go to Central High School, but the other pastors go to all the other schools. We have selected and chosen a school that we go to help the children, because they need our help. When we go there on Monday, when we first started, they wouldn't even let us go inside the school. They said, can't come inside and pray. We prayed on the other side of the building. We walked around the building and we asked God to bless all those children in there, the faculty, the staff, the students, everybody inside that building. Even bless these walk that they come up on the driveway. We prayed about everything. So finally, after we stayed there so many months, walking around the school, in the winter, we walked around there with our coats on. We grouped up outside and we prayed. The faculty and the principal saw what we were doing. They invited us inside. So we went inside, but we only went inside when there was a tragedy. The young man died. He jumped into I don't know if you remember, the marina? Yes, he jumped in there and he died. Well, he was doing something that the rest of them was doing. And they dared him to jump. He jumped, but he lost his life. This devastated the children. It devastated the faculty, and it devastated the parents. So they invited us in then. So we went in and we prayed for some of the parents and all. And so now we can go into the school and pray. So that passed. Now, then we want to do some things that will be incentive for the students. So we gave them bracelet, the rubber band bracelet, saying positive things, that you can make it, you can do this, you can be the best of you, you can finish school. If you have any problems, you can talk to us or somebody. They accepted the bracelets. They were in line for them. They wanted it. Then the next thing that we did, we gave them Bibles. We got permission to give them Bibles. We gave Bibles to every child that wanted it. We didn't force anything. We got permission from the principal that we could do this. The children were in line to get this, because then one Monday when we went, one little girl tapped me on the chest, can you pray for me? I said, I sure can. She prayed, I prayed for her, 2 or 3 other girls came up. Can you pray for me too? These children are reaching out. You have to be available.
Say that again.
And you have to be available.
Available.
You have to make yourself available. I don't care if you don't even have a child at the school. Pray for somebody else's child.
Yeah.
Don't be selfish with your prayers. Pray for somebody else's child. And your child might be doing wonderful and well, but we never know what's going to happen in life because we're not in control of that. So now, on the 20th of this month, which is Monday, I believe, yes, we asked them, what do you want? So they said, we want snacks. Of course, we said, okay. We went into our pocket. And to have somebody, it costs. It's money. It costs money, you all. It costs.
Yeah.
These bracelets cost money.
Right.
These Bibles were money. These snacks were money. The committee got together and got all the money that we needed to give every child in that school a bracelet, a Bible, and snacks. Now Monday, just before school is out, every child will get 2 or 3 snacks. They're gonna line up for that. They say, oh, thank you. Oh, this is so good because they get tired of the cafeteria food. And so the snacks are wonderful. They're coming to get the snacks. They feel like somebody loves me enough to know even if I want a snack, they will give me a snack. I want you to think about for yourself, parent. This is what I want you to think about. What did you feel like the first time you had pain? See, you were a child, but now you're grown. And now you get bearing the pain of your children. But your mama bore your pain. How did you feel when you had your first pain? When you started going through things? What did you do? Look at yourself. And then when your children come to you, you can almost see you. I've been through this. How did I get through this? My mama helped me. My daddy helped me. Somebody helped me. I prayed. I went to church. My pastor helped me. Some old lady in the church helped me. Some kind of way you made it because you're still here. So just like these children are reaching out and need somebody. There are some children at that school that are homeless. That hurt me. That hurt us. Homeless. Have to leave school and wonder where you're going to stay, where you're going to sleep, what you're going to eat. That's hard to take. And I wish I could take every last one of them home with me to just give them a place to lay their head, get a good warm bath, somebody to cuddle up and tell them, we love you, you can make it. One of the young men, and I'll be true, one of the young men who was homeless, he now has a scholarship to go to college because somebody took him in and took care of him. Now he's an A student and he'll be going off to college to get his degree. This is what the children are waiting for.
Yep.
Don't ever leave Jesus out. If you leave Jesus out, you messed up yourself, your children, and everybody else that you know, because he is the one, the only one that can save us all. I'm done. I'm done. It's all about Jesus.
My wife was talking about the one church on school. This is our poll, this is our flyer, this is what we do. And I brought it to let you see that this is what we do. We do mentoring, we do all of that. And but we want to make sure that folk have Jesus. We folk have the Lord. We don't bag up on that. I had some people at our church who wanted to fight. They wanted to cut you, but I took them inside the church and put them at the altar. They just derailed all of that. I said, if y'all come in here and fight inside the church, let's fight. That's otherwise, let's get on our knees and pray. There's a way that Jesus has to be centered. This is what we represent. I don't represent anything else. I talk about Jesus. I talk about him. If I didn't talk about Jesus, he'd fire me. I've been on this board a long time. I've been preaching ever since 1957. And I've been talking about Jesus a long time. And he hasn't failed me yet. Hasn't failed me yet. And I tried it. Now here's what I'm gonna close with this. So we can summarize from the J-Way Ministries. Again, we're on every Thursday, 7, 8 o'clock. You can tune us in, and we deal with grief and mental health. Here's what I want to close with. And if you want to copy this, I'll have Pastor Joshua to do it. What can I do to feel better? These young people are talking about suicide. What can I do to feel better? Number one, take advantage of convenient resources. Get the care when and where you need it. Number two, we always tell young people to get a journal. Write down the things that are troubling you. And I tell people this, send yourself a letter. Write down all the stuff that's bothering you. Go to the mail, put a stamp on it, and send it back to yourself. And have an opportunity to look at it and see what you're really saying. Number two, then once you see that, it's important, number three, write down your present goals so you'll not get frustrated. Do all you can to get the medical and spiritual information so that grief and stress and depression, anxiety will not confuse you. Engage in things that will help you understand your condition. Then the other question is, what do I need to do for myself right now? Here's why I'm right here. Let God's word speak to you. Tell our young people to read the Bible. That's why I brought it. Some people don't even know not one verse in the Bible. How can you survive in a world knowing everything else, don't know anything about the Bible? All right, I got some scriptures here. Anxiety weights me down, but a kind word will cheer me up. Louis says, I'm exceedingly afflicted. Revive me, O Lord, according to your word. Heaviness in the heart of man make it stoop, but a good word make him glad. Work on the things that are safe for you. Take advantage of resources. Join support groups. Turn off electronics during the day. Years ago, mealtime was family time. Mealtime was family time. Everybody had to come around the table. Everybody. You might eat anywhere at breakfast, but at dinner, everyone came to the table. And the one thing we did at the table, we had to say grace.
Yes.
You didn't just sit up there and eat. You in this room, no. Everyone came to the table. We talked about what happened during the day. Sometimes with good stuff, sometimes bad, but we talked about it during the day. And one thing about it, we had a praying mama and a praying dad.
Praying grandma.
And grandma, when I started preaching, my grandma was the one who used to run with me when I go preach. My grandma would go with me. We had a praying mother. My mother had a song that she used to sing. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give you one more thing. I'm done. My mother said this, and every time something would happen, my mother said it like this: "What a friend
We have in Jesus.
Somebody heard that same song. We have in Jesus.
Yes.
All our sin and grief to bear. Here was that. What a privilege it is to carry
Yes. Every.
everything that God. Now here's what my mom said. Oh, what peace we often forfeit.
Yes.
Oh, what needless pain we bear. All because we what? Do not carry.
Everything.
I have some church folk in here. Everything to God in prayer. Then the final thing is make worship a priority. I'm done.
Cedric.
All I was gonna say, all I was gonna say was in regards to self-harming, tips, troubleshooting. Start paying attention to your kids. Look at your children. Look at the arms. If you know that cutting is what they do, troubleshoot. Make sure you're looking at them. Make sure you go through their room.
Say, no, fine. Rewind, press play.
Right, so yeah.
No,
Make sure-
rewind, press play. Say that part. Make sure you go through
Make sure you go through their rooms, right? So again, troubleshooting. Everything that we talking about on the panel is amazing and it's good, but you still gotta interact with them. And the reality of it is looking at them, pull their arms up, see what they're doing, talk to them.
Their legs, they cut on their legs.
Legs, survey the room, look under the bed, look through the closet, and don't even do it in a way in which you're trying to make them feel as if they're doing something. Do this in your own private, personal time, just so you can kind of see what's going on. Have those conversations. We talk about, eating at the table. Definitely bring those type of situations back where everyone is eating together, so you can have conversation, dialogue, so you can know what's going on throughout the day. What are they learning in school? What's going on? Who are your friends? These type of things, because the reality is the apple don't fall too far to the tree. So you're looking at the kid, he acting like you, or he acting like the person you had the kid with. Number one. I know somebody. We just said. Right. Second of all, you got to look at the friends, because again, we talk about help. My child is under pressure. The biggest pressure is what? Peer pressure. So we got to know who our child is and what they're doing. That's all I wanted to add to that.
Can you give us that website again?
Nerdyouthservices.org. www.nerdyouthservices.org.
And it's just like how you hear it, nerd. All right, N-E-R.
N-E-R-D.
All right.
YOUTHSERVICES.org.
Can we clap it up for the panelists? This is the opportunity. If you have any questions right now for the panel, you can go ahead and ask that as a parent. Please take advantage of that. We're gonna give a few minutes for this to be able to. I see
have
a
a ton of
question.
opinions. I don't know if you want me to wait till last. Paragraph, Brooklyn, I'm not sure. I have a lot.
Well, what we want to do is we want to actually do questions. We want to do strictly questions on that, and or any feedback you want to give on the panel, because we want to be able to, maybe you have a question that you would like to have in their profession. And so we have everyone from counselor to mentor to advocate to crisis director, all the way to right here to your faith base, which is another aspect which we didn't do a lot on, but that side, they did talk about grief. And I want to just tell you all, please be mindful that grief is just not going all the way to the beginning of when Mrs. Wade was talking. It's just not dealing with death. All right, y'all, you might have had a child, you might have had a pet in the home that the child was very close to, and you got tired of that dog. And you know what you did? That child went to school and came home, and that dog was not here. I'm going to give you an example. We had a dog that the parent had went ahead and released and let go. Of course, they always call me. I'm the dog whisperer here at the school. Mr. Reese, we got a dog loose on the premises. I went, saw the dog. One of our teachers heard about it, ran out the classroom, got somebody to cover their class, went out there with me, saw the dog, and helped just get the dog together. The dog stayed with us. We leashed him. Come to find out that dog belonged to one of our students. The dog had been missing for a couple of days. Student was lining up in class, 3 through 5, 3rd grade through 5th grade student, saw the dog and immediately burst out in tears because he was so happy to see the dog. He thought something happened. He said he knew his dad had got rid of the dog and he meant so much, and he was crying. He was in grief, but happy. You know what ended up happening? That teacher said, I'll take this dog home, and whenever you want to see the dog, since your dad got rid of it and just released it, I'll make sure you're able to see it. Is that okay? I'll send you pictures, and I'll show you pictures. And that builds a relationship bond between the teacher and that student. But some will say, a dog, man, gone somewhere. Gone somewhere. These people have taught me, do not minimize the relationship even of a goldfish.
Yes.
Because to a child and to some of you all, I don't want a dog. I have a dog right now and I'm praying. And I just got it by default. I haven't had a dog in 20 years and I'm still not right from it because that dog meant a lot to me. So to replace my former dog, I'm 46 years old and still got a problem. Because here's the thing, that relationship I'll never have again with another pet. And so you have to take those things into mind. And your child, when you're making decisions and changes and moving, even when you're moving at home, you're moving from one place to another, that affects your child. And that also goes into the pressures. So if you have any questions, please go ahead. We're going to open it up at this time. Anyone have a question at this time? Anyone have a question? Yes.
All right, so, what do you provide your child when you have provided love, when you have provided time, when you have provided all of these things that you said that we should provide, when you have given them that? When you're all out of options, what do you provide to your child?
Said when you have provided pretty much everything you all have been saying, what else you provided? Love, time,
Prayer.
what else can you provide now?
Why do you feel like, you say you provided all of these things, so what is the concern there? You provided all these things, but.
Well, I'm sorry. I feel like the fight is between me and the outside world with my child. So it's like tug of war. So not only am I fighting, I'm fighting their friends, I'm fighting social media, I'm fighting what they hear on the radio. So my thing is, what do you provide to a child that you've given all of this stuff to, right? That's what I mean.
What's the, yes, you got is this a boy or girl?
It's a girl.
It's a girl? Okay. Again, resources, mentoring, right? Because sometimes from the child perspective, they might not want to necessarily divulge all of the information to you because of, embarrassing, because, apprehension for whatever reason. Think about how you were as a child, right? So my best suggestion to you would be to look to someone that could be that liaison between you and your daughter, right? Someone that you can trust. That what's the age with your daughter? Okay. So the way I would suggest it is you find someone that could be a liaison, have the daughter and this person that you find create a relationship, you know what I mean, that can kind of filter out what you can't get through. That way, once they create their relationship, right, and build their trust, then you have someone that you can talk to say, okay, she's saying this, she's saying this. You might want to try this, you might want to try that type of thing. And that's an ongoing process. That's not just one person. That could be, anybody from a family member to someone in church to someone in your community to someone at the Boys and Girls Club, the Y, what have you. So that would be my suggestion. Find someone that you can trust, that you feel like, I think this would be a good person for my daughter to talk to. And then, let that person be the liaison between you and her to kind of help create that.
Let me just make this observation to you here. One of the things that is very important, not just the child, it may be that you might need to get some help to understand that when a child, as I said before, when a child is 12, it's one thing. When they turn over to be 13, it's something else. And we've got to understand from us as a parent, how do we help our child? So, and I'm gonna just give you this illustration. My wife and I, the reason why we have this grief ministry, we tell people that we have to be honest. The reason why we have this grief ministry. I pastored the church, as I told you, 45 years. When my mother died, it was one way. My father died, it was another way. I had a sister that died, it was another way. My wife's mother died, it was another way. I preached all these funerals myself. When our son died, it changed the whole dynamic. My wife and I, we're being transparent. We told people that my wife and I didn't know how to handle it. I'm preaching for other folks, preaching my own mama and others. When my son died, it was a different dynamic. My wife and I were having some issues that we never had before in the house. I'm trying to blame her, she's trying to blame me. And we trying to find out, say, hey, something's happened in this marriage that we've never had. We need help. So we went to people, and we went to professional people, these two people right here, and got help. So I'm telling you, some of it might be, you might need to go with your child and find some help that's available so a parent will know how to handle a 12-year-old child. We may not know how to do that at this point. With all the stuff that's going on, like the young man said, with all the stuff that's going on, they're inundated with a lot of stuff. And I feel for parents today. And so I'm just telling you, you might have to take a page from these two people right here, and you might have to say, hey, I need some mentoring on how I'll give my child all of this. See, and it doesn't make my wife and I crazy, because that was a stigma on it. You go to psychiatrist, you crazy. So we had to get rid of that in our minds, that we're not crazy. It makes sense that when you don't have answers, you got to go to people who have. Yeah. That's my answer.
Mom of a 13-year-old young woman. So understand the challenges that you faced up against. We would love to say we have all this impact on our kids, but society, peers, everything else around our world is more important and more influential. I think a big thing is, and I don't know your relationship, but I think old school say you can't be your child's friend, but I could be my child's confidant. I could be my child's support system. I can try to build a relationship where you feel comfortable to talk to me, but also I know you're not going to tell me everything, and understanding that all of those things are major impacts in their life, and being compassionate. I understand your friends are out hanging out and doing this and that. And I know I was your age. I get you want to do this. But here's why this is not the best idea. Here's what can happen. Here's some examples. And here's somebody else that you can talk to, and you may be able to tell them more about the influential things that's going on in your life that you may not be wanting to open up to me. Because as a parent, we have this hierarchy. So it's like they don't want to disappoint us. They don't want you to be mad at us. You have control. You can take away. You can do all of this to me. So I'm not going, even though you say you're going to be cool, I don't trust that, because I like my phone. You know, I want you to take it, right? You know, I like going outside. I know if I tell you such and such is doing this, you may not let me go outside with them. So, understanding that, yes, all of this is going on and it's influential to you, but talk to Miss Aaliyah, because Miss Aaliyah probably be the cool auntie that's going to, tell you, hey, don't do this, don't do this. Miss Aaliyah could take you this way, and she'll be the cool auntie that get along with everybody, and you can still go outside, but it's still safe. You get those barriers. Pull people in, but also be understanding that the way of the world today is so different. It looks different. But trust that you raised your kids well. Understand that from 0 to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you equip them with all of these skills. And although it may not look from your perception that they're using them skills, they use them. My 13-year-old, now I'm the one that did the discretion going through the phone. I'm good at going through a phone. And she be like, nah, my mama don't play that. I put that skill in her. She knows what's too far. Trust them to use their skills, and trust that if they have a hiccup, they'll learn, and you'll be there to support them and love them through whatever challenges that they're going to go through. So that's what I would say to you. You've done your part. Sometimes we got to sit back and say, hey, I'm here, but use those skills I equip you with. You got it.
Just real quick, teamwork. Quick story. Me and Ashley worked together, and we had a case. And this kid, the mother and daughter dynamic was crazy. And I would call Ashley, and I would be like, Ashley, they're cussing at each other again. I don't know what to do.
I think they're about to fight. Do I call for help or what do I do here? And that was teamwork though. We had to tag team each other, right? Because even with me I'm literally the cool auntie, yeah, you know, I kick it with you and everything. But I ran a summer program and Ashley was one of the therapists. And it was a couple times Ashley had to pull me because it was a battle, right, with me, because I'm 22 and the kid's about 16. So I'm cool with you, but then you still want to play with me. What's going on here, right? So I had to have somebody tag in because the kid's triggering me. And that's a word that all parents, I think, need to learn. You can be triggered too. Your kids will trigger you. I have no kids, but working with them, they trigger me. Who are you talking to? So in that moment, I felt like I had to prove something. And I feel like with a lot of parents, you feel like you got to prove. I don't prove nothing. I'm 23 years old, and my mom, 2 years ago, and I'm transparent, and my mom knows this, she felt like I was putting everybody else in the world before her, right? So she tried to teach me, since you feel like everybody else is more important than me, what I got to say, I'm going to show you how I feel not to have a mama. Crushed me. What? That lady wouldn't answer the phone, not pay the phone bill? Is you crazy? I was crushed. I couldn't talk to her. She said, sis, but with tears in her eyes, I'm my only living child, she said, you think everybody else matters to you than me? What they say is more important? What your friends say, their ideas is better than mine? I'm going to show you how it feels not to have a mother. And I'm telling you right now, your daughter 13, right? She's 12, 13. I promise you, stay on her. Mom is my best friend. You understand me? It ain't nothing in this world that those lessons and not having her talk to me for one day, right? And thinking about for a lifetime. And I don't mean to get emotional, but we don't understand what our parents are to us until you see somebody that don't have one, right? Until you see somebody who wish their mama would ask them, what you think you're doing, right? I have friends, I'm like, Dad, what? Your mama don't care what you're doing? Because my mother cares. And they wanted my mom. My mama asked them, where you think you're going? And it did something to them because they mamas don't care what they doing. Like Pastor Reese said earlier, ask your kid, baby, how your grades look today? You good? You know, when I was 12 and 13, my mom still was stuck on losing my brothers. I tell people all the time, I felt like when I lost my brothers, I lost my mother. I had everything a black kid could want. Luxury, everything. But mama wasn't doing the I love you, girl. She was scared. But it took for me to be an adult and understand she had a trauma. She carried something for 9 months and it was taken from her, like Pastor said, right? That was a different type of angle for her. So I was doing sports and kicking it at 12 or 13. I was in school, I was doing good. And I felt like mama didn't pay attention to that. So that hurt my feelings. But I didn't get rebellious then. I waited till I got 21. And I had an identity crisis because she had sheltered me. Stop thinking you got to keep sheltering your kids. It's there. Because we're going to get a point where we get outside and we get a taste outside, and it's either going to make or break us, right? So after this, I'll talk to teamwork. It took for her to tell me how to talk to people's kids. And a lot of times it take our friends don't hold us accountable. My mama friends, it took for our friends to tell her, hey, don't talk to her like that. You got a different daughter. Your daughter not like, your daughter could be like my daughter. Out here pregnant at, not knocking nobody, but your daughter could be like my daughter. Your daughter could be doing this. You know what I'm saying? So take heed to that and talk to both of us afterwards. And yeah, you go.
I'm sorry, I'm getting interrupted. When it comes to the whole dynamic of it takes a village to raise a child, it takes two parents to raise a child also. So correct. I noticed that there's problems with fatherless homes in particular. Don't get me wrong, motherless home is equally as bad, but fatherless home is again equally as bad. Because then the children lack order, they lack structure, they lack discipline, they lack ambition. And like mothers, you'll notice that a lot of women who grow up without fathers, they wind up in the streets, doing one thing or another that's just not right, either against themselves or, here.
Can't be you're nothing.
Just one more second. thing I want to mention is, hey, if you're having problems with your daughters, now I know this because I have sisters, and their dad is a complete piece of work. I'll say that, complete piece of work.
Yeah.
But whenever they want to get rebellious to my mother, what I do is I step in as sort of authority figure, even though I'm just
I work night shifts, so it gets kind of hectic.
right? And yeah, compassion is a key role, but you can't
You can't let them slide, like, the literally
you
behind
can't
you.
let them walk over. You gotta
Okay, so,
balance it. Because a well-rounded person
now,
makes well-rounded.
I'll be honest with you, corporal punishment is an acceptable factor. Scripture in the Old Testament does say, do not spare the rod. Otherwise, your child will cause you shame. And I believe strongly in that. There's a very big difference between child abuse versus actual discipline. I have 4 children, and it's been pretty hectic, I'll be honest. I was born and raised Catholic, I didn't have a choice. I started reading my Bible and realized, oh, wait, we're not supposed to do this. Of course, you can't do anything that the Roman Catholic Church has done. They're heavily satanic, I would say out loud. So after reading scripture, I started learning a lot. And I'm gonna start using the Hebrew names. We have the Sefer and has everything in it. Yahuwah flat out said, he's like, he does not change. Man changes. So following scripture is the best thing we can do. It doesn't matter what age, what time, what century. Go back like 1,000 years, go forward another 1,000 years. This will always remain true. If this book is not true, then let me tell you, just like a billion other books off the bookshelf, it would disappear a long time ago. But there's truth behind it. Second thing he said, do not conform to the world, instead by the renewing of your mind. That was in one of the epistles, I think Ephesians as well, but I'm a little rusty. Going to the next one, the Almighty says, he's like, Satan himself, after he was cast down, he is the king and the God of this world. He wants to be like the Most High. And it talks about him in Ezekiel, how he was so beautiful, right? A beautiful angel. He wants to be like the Almighty, but he couldn't. Okay? So why do people do evil? I'll tell you why, because they chose their God. They chose their God, and they reject ours. I used to read like the King James all the time before I went into this effort, okay? Every time I was in the bus back then, let me tell you something. Society, they could pretend to be nice, they don't know. The scriptures in Proverbs says, there's a way that seems well to a man, but it leads to damnation, right? So here's the thing, I would go open my Bible, and there's nothing bad. It's a beautiful word. I would have people give me the dirtiest looks. You were smiling a second ago, now suddenly in the back. They show themselves, like these demons manifest. When you go through like the cycle of abuse, I've gone through a cycle of abuse. I have a family, I'll be very blunt and honest about it. You want to talk about like demons in a home. These are murderous demons that have like drug addictions, different types of things, okay? This was my home growing up. My father wasn't there because he was what you would call a coyote. He was illegal. You find him in the U.S., they would have arrested him for like 50, 60 years. He was smuggling things back and forth from Mexico to the United States. He had a warrant. My mom struggled after having dealt with him for so long, and I grew up a very terrible way because she couldn't contain her emotions. She was brought up through a cycle of abuse. Okay, so was my grandmother. So it has to get to a point where an adult has to make the rational decision. Do I love my child enough to say, I'm going to break that cycle? And now, so like after all that was said and done, and yeah, I grew up without my father. So I made a lot of mistakes growing up. And does that make me weak? No, it doesn't. I am bold enough to say it because I overcame it. And the reason I overcame it is because of scripture. I've had people try to shut me down. Oh, tell me how you overcame it. I would start quoting scripture. Oh, I don't want to hear that. I'm not going to lie to you either. I'm going to just walk away.
Amen.
Like, it is what it is, You look through everything that's like gone through. Okay, so you break the cycle of abuse as a parent. This is where I find my sanctuary through the Almighty. We're a scripture-based home. We moved to Gary. I'll be honest with you. I don't care. We don't have a TV. We don't need a TV. We have a prayer room. We have several versions of the Bible. We read. We're always talking about certain lessons within the foundations of the Word. We never go around it. Scripture flat out tells you there were certain type of people, I can't remember where, again, I'm rusty, that when something came about, they would always go in and look to see if it was true or not using scripture. That's what me and my children do. Everything's based around the Almighty. Every question that me and my children ask is it acceptable in His eyes? We don't go outside of that boundary because I really don't care what the world thinks about us. And my little children, let me tell you a little bit more. I'm going to be bold and honest. And I don't mind. Okay, you guys want to ask me questions later? I'm here. So we had an issue with my three youngest. Okay, I was married to his dad for a long time. Ended up getting divorced. I met someone else. This is during my younger years before I went to church. And I was reckless, didn't know what love was, going through my type of abuse, having no dad. So I fell in love with a narcissist that was a manipulator. Well, years later, now we have an order of protection against him. On top of the order of protection, we just found out recently, because my other daughter wouldn't talk, that dad's apparently a Satanist at this Christian church. Performed a satanic ritual on her. This is what we deal with. It's constant struggle, constant battle, but you know what? There is hope. And for people that don't believe, here's the reality. Parents need to slow down. There's nothing against some of them, because there are some, I've had those struggles in the beginning. You're a single parent, you're struggling, you're trying to make ends meet, you don't have time to raise your child, at the same time you have to go to work and do this, and the little bit of time that you have, that you try to give, it doesn't seem to be enough, because like the other lady was saying, you have social media, you have other people outside, you have family members, and yeah, you also have people that you don't really agree with as far as opinion, telling your kid everything that you don't want them to hear, things that are not true. So you go through that, and it gets in the beginning, again, it was hectic, it was chaos. But the Almighty pulled us right through it. And even though we are where we're at right now, we still have struggles, but we have our hope. Parents nowadays need to slow down and look at their kids. Look at their kid. For 1 second, just look at your child and say, you know what? I see you. I see you. Right now, nothing around you matters but you. Because a lot of times these kids, they grow up, mom's busy, dad's busy, there's chaos, there's hell. Again, bills to pay, there's a problem here, problem there, stressors, okay? And they feel like they could just drift by and nobody cares. And they need to be reminded that. It's gonna kind of be difficult at times, especially when you have children. I have 4 children. Put your kids, have a family member babysit, come on, me and you, let's go out for 1 second, let's have quality time. I'm a jokester at home, I joke around, super silly. I could be a pain in the butt, whatever, but there's that fine line. Like it says over there, and I think it's the book of Ephesians as well, chapter 5, talk about, Exodus chapter 20, honor your father and your mother, your life will be long on the earth. That was one of the very first commandments. My children also go through Proverbs 6:16 through 19, the 16th, Almighty gives, the 7th, an abomination. First one's the line, thou shalt not lie. There are things that we're based on, and every time something happens, again, I'm mom, I might have a moment, I might say something I shouldn't, that might kind of curse. I have my little kids tell me, Mom, you shall not curse. It says it right there. Okay. I slow it down, right? But the kids need a lot of attention. When you have 4 children, or any child, even one, you don't have a child, you have a world. You have an individual. You have a person that's going to grow up, man or woman, that's going to go into the world. And depending on whatever you show them, that's what they're going to reflect. I grew up the wrong way. I made all the mistakes. But you know what? I use that as an example, but not to be my kids. And I know for parents it will be difficult. I think it'll be nice if you guys had a program set up for parents to come here, to just start talking to each other, giving each other ideas, kind of like an outreach, to assist, get ideas. Because it's hard. Once you guys walk away, it's going to be hard to balance this yell. You know what I mean?
And that's the purpose of us bringing this together. This is the beginning of that nice dialogue, and also making sure we bring the sources from the outside inside to the school where it matters. Because I was talking to my colleague, we need a good wraparound.
Yeah.
And so because everything here will work and everything brings itself together. And so you have to have faith. I trust the Lord with everything. And I don't take my belief and push it on anyone. But what's amazing is the kids pull it out of me. Because I have to refer to one of the best written books that have been written in mankind. And it lets them know, they'll know a tree by the fruit it bears. And so if they picking from my tree and they want to know what's the flavor, I got to tell them. And I have to bring it back to Christ. I have to bring it back to that. But then, as J. Wade Ministry said, not only do they use the faith in Christ and faith in God, the faith in the Lord Jesus, but they also went and sought help. Yeah. And that's why we got to help our children. Amen. And so we have to wrap up this the Q&A at this time. But here's the great thing. They're going to be available for you right after this, if you want to get the information, what have you. I want Pastor Wade had something he wanted to share, and then we're going to go ahead and close out.
Okay. I need 2 chairs out there right quick, and my wife and I are going to show you on how to listen to your children. It's an illustration that my wife and I, we do marriage retreats, husband and wives marriage retreats. And my wife came up with this idea. I didn't, she came up with this. And we started using it in grief ministry to help people understand how to talk to their children, how to talk to each other. And one of the things is that you have to sit down and face each other straight head on. You have to sit up straight. Your feet have to be level on the floor, and you have to hold hands. And the reason why you hold hands is because you feel the emotions. Sometimes you do it this way, sometimes you do it this way. But you have to do it and hold hands because as a father or a mother, you feel what your child is feeling. A psychiatrist doctor told my wife and I, this is before we got it, that when something happens to a child, there's something that happens with the mother and the child that never happens with anything else. I'm not going to explain all that because you come to our grief ministry to it. There's something that happens with a child. Our psychiatrist told us it's different than a mother and a father. So one of the things we do is we put our hands together, and every time we talk to each other, we have to look in our eyes. A lot of times, I wish I was some kids there, because most of the time when you talk to your child, they talk, yeah, but they have to look at you eyeball to eyeball, and they have to talk to you from the heart. And then the other thing that we learn is when you're talking to your child, watch this. You have to put your hand on their stomach when you're talking to them, and you will feel it from their belly, some of the things that they're feeling. And whenever a child has something they need to talk about, it has to come from here to here and out of here. So it has to come. It starts here, here, it has to come out of here. In every grief situation, the pain starts here. It has to come from here to the heart and come out of your mouth. But you always have to. And then there's different breathing things that you do with your child. We're not going to talk about that coming out of grief ministry, and we'll show you some breathing. But mainly, you have to sit down with your child like this, and you have to listen. So what it is, I need to know what's in it. And what happened is a few days ago, there was a young lady who was about to talk about suicide. I took her to church, my wife and I said, now, baby, I want to know that you know that I'm respected. Her mother was sitting there. I said, make sure your mother understands. I said, I'm going to put my hand on your stomach like this, and I want you to tell me what's going on. And she started talking. It's amazing. It comes from here to here and out of here. All right?
Oh, thank you. So some of you all, and as we wrap up, and like I said, you have to pull on myself and Miss Campbell, our school social worker, myself as a crisis person here at the school. I can tell you this, energy comes from all of us. It's electricity that goes throughout all our body. When you get nervous, what do they call that? You having what? Jitters and butterflies. Where the butterflies happen? In the stomach. There's a lot to connect from here that you can't get in one day. There's a lot to connect with your child. You're not going to get in one day. But if you pull on the resources that you have here, please know we are here for you. We are here for your child. Don't get mad if they talk to Mr. Reese, aka Mr. Weiss. Kid rearranged my name years ago, and I just took it, Mr. Weiss. That's okay. They call, I want to be in Miss Campbell. All the children want to be in Miss Campbell. And then I'm in there. Why are you in here? We ain't Miss Campbell. We work together as a team. Because there's things that come on her plate, and sometimes the person that's helping needs help with the pressures that's on your child. No, here, we're not here to take advantage of your child. We're here to help your child so when they come home to you, maybe they'll be a lot more bearable. And maybe if we work together cohesively, and that's another time we're gonna come together. If y'all like this session, we'll do it again. Some say it took a long time. Think about how much information you just got and you didn't have to pay a dime for it. These people have taken away from other clients that they could have been billing. And they are here for 2 hours pouring out to you. And you all know this is not no overnight, no pull out a pamphlet and you read and get that information. You got it from the heart, you got it from the experience. So if you appreciate it, just clap your hands.
We need to stand up.
Thank you. Ms. Campbell, come on, show everybody that's watching, because you all will be able to watch this on the YouTube as well as the J Wade Ministries page. That's on Facebook, that's on YouTube, J.E. Wade, J.E. Wade Ministries. You can see Mrs. Wade, I call her Mama. All right, and don't let Pastor Wade fool y'all. See, he got his suit on, okay? But did y'all see his shoes? He got on them all white night crossovers, man. And we ain't gonna tell you what his age is. I'm telling you, never knock out, because let me tell you, these two people, this is why I'm able to help your children. It's through the help of God and putting people like this in place that I'm able to connect with your children. I would have been a whole mess. But if it wasn't for the grief ministry, and then because of the partnership we have, there's so many people that's not here that play a part. We are more than just a school of education. We want to educate your child even how to deal with their problems. All right.
You're engineer.
Yes, I engineer. I'm on the background crying and everything while I'm trying to make sure they okay on the computer. So every Thursday at 7 p.m., J Wade Ministries. You all have nerd services. You all got his information. He comes here. This is Mr. Washington. Here is, and she's going to be with us for our career day as well. So that's coming up as well. We got something where your young people are going to be able to experience and see professionals and talk to them about what they do. On the 21st of this month, and I'm going to say this, if J Wade Ministries want to come in, guess what? The kids is going to be welcome from you. Walk all around the school because we want people to understand. People ask me questions about being a pastor, and then next thing they start talking to me about their problem. And the kids, y'all won't be, you'll be amazed by what they're affected by. All right. You have our crisis center person. Let me tell you something. We have kids that end up at the crisis center. They're not at home, but they're living there, and they're getting the services through Miss Aaliyah, and then as well as Miss Robinson, but that's their resident, and then they're coming here. But then you have J Wade Ministry. Parents, grandparents, pastors, and when I tell you, they know children, they know children. Last but not least, I was crying as a youth director. Said, they're not listening to me, Pastor. They left. He said, okay. And then he just went and talked to them, and those kids folded. They didn't raise a voice, and I've learned, if you hear about Mr. Reese was talking calmly, these people right here, they will. All right. If you all enjoyed yourself, we are thankful. This is it. This is the conclusion. Please share this out afterwards and let people know that they can go back and watch the rebroadcast. All right. At this time, you are dismissed, and you can mingle with the panel.
If we start, came at 9, come back at 4.
Yeah.
Can we come back at 4 or 9?
You want to come back at 4? You can come back at 4.